Hi, good evening. I'll be talking to you on an Indian approach to business, and I'd like to begin. This is my journey basically. I have been writing on mythology and management, and many people find this rather strange because we think of mythology as something different, and management as something different, and everybody asks me, how do you marry the two? And really, it depends on how you define mythology. And most people's understanding of mythology is very pre-1950s because it's not part of our university system. In modern times, mythology is basically defined as the study of subjective truth of a people as revealed through stories, symbols, and rituals. Yeah? At a very simple level, it is stories that reveal the map of your mind. So if you want to understand Western civilization and Western thought processes, Western mythologies reveal the map of their mind. You want to understand China, you understand Chinese mythology, and Chinese mythology will reveal the map of the mind. You want to understand India, mythology is a very good tool which enables you to understand the map of the Indian mind. So it's a very good map. It's not, and it helps us appreciate how people think. And in business, it is absolutely important to understand how people think. Because somewhere along the line, business becomes about targets and processes and systems and inspiration. But we forget that ultimately it is about people. The customer is a human being, the employee is a human being, the investor is a human being, your partners are human beings, and the better you understand them, the better you are at managing them. So let's go on a journey. These are some of the most popular and respected writers on business today. And for the last 50 years, really. It's Peter Drucker, Stephen Covey. Big names. The moment you go to any MBA school, business school, their books is what you will read. Look at this picture carefully and you will observe that they are all European or American. They are all white men. If all of these men were from Australia, would the books be different? If all the books of all these men were not men, they were women, would the books be different? If they were all Japanese, would the books be different? If they were all Chinese, would the books be different? In other words, does their culture influence management as we know it? And that's a question nobody asks. Everybody uses the word diversity. But all this knowledge, management is only 100 years old. MBA as we know it comes from Harvard. It's about 100 years old. And all the ideas come from Europe and America. But the global village has markets which are not European and not American. There's China, there's Southeast Asia, there's Korea, there's India, there's Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, where the rules perhaps are different. And so the question is, have we got a comprehensive view of management, or is something missing? So this is what happens when you study mythology. When you study mythology, you observe this, which most MBA students wouldn't catch, no business student catch, is that there is an uncanny resemblance between modern management and stories from the Bible. So let me explain this to you by storytelling. Listen to the story and you'll realize how simple it is. So the most popular story, and now it's going to be more popular because there's a Hollywood film based on it, and those who have seen the film 10 Commandments will know it. And our ideas of leadership really come from this book. It's called the Book of Exodus in the Bible. It speaks of a people who lived in abject poverty, in slavery, denied their freedom, denied their dignity, and they were living to build the Pharaoh's tomb. Then one day, the prophet came along, and he gave them the vision of a promised land. A land far, far away, a land of milk and honey, a land where everything would be perfect. They would have freedom, they would have their dignity, they would have everything that they want, provided they followed him across the sea, across the wilderness, provided they trusted him. But in order to make this journey, they had to sign a covenant with God, make a pact with God. And more importantly, they had to follow commandments, rules that were given by God in stone, carved in stone. But what is the problem that the prophet faced as he was making his journey to the promised land? Only one problem that all businessmen in this room are familiar with. One problem only: non-compliance. You see, even when God gives the rules in writing, people find it difficult to follow the rules. But even though you break the rules, God is a caring Father. He forgives you and lets you start all over again. So this is the story. This is the story. Now look at it from a business point of view. This is your background statement. This is your vision statement, mission statement, objective, goal, target. This is your memorandum of understanding, the contract that you sign, without which nothing happens in business. These are your rules, your systems, your processes that ensure that everybody stays aligned to the goal. Finally, you have your auditors, your regulators, your internal auditor, your external auditor, and all conversations about people having to align. But of course, who is the caring father? The caring father is the owner of the company, the shareholder, the board of directors who make up the rules. So the structure is the same. At a structural level, there is no difference. The question therefore is, good, bad, indifferent, I don't know. This is the structure that we have. It works very well across the world. We follow the structure. The question is, are there other models in this world? We talk of innovation, we talk about creativity. Are there other models in this world? Will the Chinese mythology reveal to me a different way of managing things? Would Indian mythology reveal a different way of managing things? Not necessarily a better one, but a different one. And that's what excited me. You see, for me, this is what modern management is. I call it the TTT approach. You begin always with a target in mind, then you divide it and break it down to a set of tasks, and then you talk about talent, about people. So first it is the objective, then it is the systems. People come last. And that is the way you strategize. That's how you design the business. Right? So this is the most popular method of management. It's called objective-based management. You have an objective, then you have a plan, and then you hire people. Simple. Let's now look at a possibility. Right, wrong, indifferent. Will the stories from the Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, do they offer a different approach to management? Slightly different. Maybe a complementary one, maybe a supplementary one. Maybe something that works only in the Indian market. Or maybe something that is also required in Europe and America. Something that they're all seeking. Because in a global village, knowledge has to come from every part of the world, not just Europe and America. And I think India has a vast storehouse of knowledge, and it is our duty to unravel this, package it, and present it to the world so the world will benefit from it. And that's what I've been trying to do. So let's look at an Indian approach of management. And it begins with storytelling. Because mythology is nothing if it is not storytelling. If you don't understand stories, it's not fun. So we've heard the book of Exodus. Now I will tell you a story from the Puranas. I've selected this story primarily because the characters in the story are common across, at least one of the characters, is common across Buddhism, Jainism, and Hinduism. And therefore it makes it a much larger canvas. Right? The story begins with the concept of Swarg, or paradise. What is Swarg? What is paradise? It is a place where there's a cow called Kamadhenu. Ask the cow anything and you will get it. It's a wish-fulfilling cow. There is a tree called Kalpataru. Stand under the tree, ask for anything and you will get it because it's a wish-fulfilling tree. There is a jewel called Chintamani. Hold it in your hand, ask for anything and you'll get it. It's a wish-fulfilling jewel. That's Swarg. What does it mean in business terms? Look at it carefully. wish fulfilling cow, wish fulfilling tree, wish fulfilling jewel. In financial terms, what does it mean? It means infinite return with no investment. That's what Swarga is all about, right? I don't want to work and I want to get returns. बिना काम करके पैसे मिल जाना उसी को तो स्वर्ग कहते हैं. The concept 2000 years ago, what is heaven? A place where you have to do nothing. ऐश की जिंदगी, आराम से जियो. So we are constantly, it is an understanding of the concept of return of investment. Imagine the farmer in the fields working every day for a grain of rice and looks up and says, स्वर्ग ऐसा जगह है जहां पे काम नहीं करना पड़ता. पेड़ के नीचे बैठ जाओ, खाना मिल जाएगा. You don't have to take the cow to the pasture. You don't have to dig for jewels. Just sit and you'll get whatever you want. That's heaven. Who is the king of heaven? Indra or Sakra. In Jainism, he's there in Buddhism, Jainism, everywhere. Sakra, the great king, powerful, Indralok, Swarg ka Raja hai. But when you hear his stories, you start wondering, because Indra is described, he has everything you can imagine, everything. And yet he is described as an insecure god. Indra bhaybheet hai. This, the mythological stories, if you watch it on television, they'll say, Indra ka singhasan dagmagata hai. It's always shaky. It's terrified. He's always fighting battles. He's in Ranabhumi, fighting battles. What is he afraid of? He's afraid of, the moment an Asura is born, he gets nervous. He goes to his father and says, please kill the Asura. The moment a Rishi performs tapasya, he gets nervous. He goes to the Apsara department and says, go dance in front of me. The moment, the moment a king performs a yajna, he goes and steals his horse. In other words, he's terrified of competition. Terrified. डर रहा है कि लक्ष्मी भाग जाएगी. Lakshmi will run away. And what is Lakshmi for him? Lakshmi is Swarg. Lakshmi is, in business terms, what does Lakshmi mean? Lakshmi is your customer. She'll run away, she'll go to the competition. Lakshmi is your talent without whom your work doesn't get done. The talent will go and join the other company. Your shareholder will pull back investments and give it to someone else. That is the fear. Indra has everything but is insecure. He's always fighting battles. He's always in Ranabhumi. So he's not enjoying his wealth really. He's always in a state of paranoia. Because Lakshmi bhag jai. And Lakshmi is a restless goddess. She is whimsical, chanchala. And in Calcutta, you know, she's called Lokhi Tera. Why? Because you think you are going to get the promotion and it goes to the scoundrel in the next cabin. That's what happens, right? That is Lakshmi. You can't predict her movements. The stock market, I mean, all the economists in the world could not predict the crash. Only after the crash, every economist says, we knew it. Nobody can predict or prevent the movement of Lakshmi. However, the Puranas tell us something very interesting. They say that Lakshmi always goes towards Vishnu. She sits next to him. She multiplies herself to have more of him. So, and Vishnu is not in Swarg. He's in another place called Vaikunt. And that is the image of Vaikunt, the classical image of Vaikunt. Now look at the image. He's sleeping, he's absolutely relaxed. He's not insecure, he's relaxed. What is he sleeping on? A serpent. And the serpent is floating on water, which means there's no foundation. The base has no foundation. It is floating. It is the ocean. And the ocean has waves. It's a tempest, rising and falling, rising and falling. But he is at peace. There is no tension. Look how the visuals are non-cognitively explaining to you the concept of someone who's at peace even though there is boom and bust, boom and bust, boom and bust. Nothing is happening. He's cool. Why? Because he adapts himself. जब युग बदलता है तो अवतार भी बदलता है. He changes his forms again and again and again, adapting to market realities. Indra doesn't do that. There are no avatars of Indra. No avatars. He wants the world to change. Vishnu changes with the world. And therefore Vishnu is forever in Rangabhumi. Rangabhumi means a stage, a playground where you're always at peace and enjoying yourself, having great fun. That is not the way we describe workplaces. We describe workplaces as places of stress. We don't see it as places of joy. And yet everywhere in the world people are saying happiness is important. How do we measure happiness? You go to professors in Harvard and Cambridge and talk about happiness. Rangabhumi. That's the concept. Lakshmi Virajman hai, bagal mein hai. So there you have, a classic Bollywood movie. Indra chases Lakshmi and Lakshmi chases Vishnu. That's the Indian approach to management. Now you decide who you are. Are you Indra who chases the customer, or are you Vishnu who attracts the customer? Are you Indra who chases the talent, or are you Vishnu who attracts the talent? Do you chase the investor and the bank, or does the bank and the investor chase you? That is Vishnu Charitra. So that is the Indian model of management. It is not about going and conquering, it is about attracting. Shringara, Madhura Rasa. Make yourself attractive. Your product is so exciting that nobody wants to let go. So Apple phones cost ridiculous amounts of money and they're sold out. Something in the product आकर्षित कर रहा है. The film stars, आकर्षित, horrible movies, terrible movies, yet to watch the hero, shows are full. Something is right. What it is, can I figure it out? Is there a science there, or is it just luck? That's the question. And for me, that's where the Indian approach to management comes in, because it is a complementary approach. So while the Western management begins with target, task, and talent, Indian approach begins with belief, behavior, business. You begin with people. जैसा विश्वास, वैसा व्यवहार, वैसा व्यापार. You have hired people, check their belief. As is their belief, so is their behavior. As is their behavior, so is business. So it's a complementary approach. So strategically speaking, you focus on target, task, talent. That's strategy. But the moment it comes to implementation, you start reversing the process. Start with the people, then look at the process, see what is going wrong, why are people resisting, sort it out, and business will happen. How do you do that? So ultimately it is about people. Not a set of targets, not a set of tasks, but a set of people. And that's how you complement the Indian approach. So let's go it a little deeper. To understand this, to understand people, to make this possible, to understand people's beliefs, there is an old Indian ritual called a yajna, and it offers a very good model in business. Now, people say that what is yajna? Yajna is loosely translated as a fire sacrifice. If you read a textbook, they'll say fire sacrifice. Who made this translation? 18th century Europeans who never visited India, never conducted a yajna, but decided that is the translation. And we have accepted it. What I would like you to do is, an abbreviated version of yajna is performed today. It's called a havan. Let's take a look at it and try to quickly understand what exactly is a yajna. So this ritual is very simple. The person who is conducting a yajna is called a yajman. And what does the yajman do? He makes an offering into fire and says, Swaha, I give this. And from the fire, the purpose of the exercise is not sacrifice, because sacrifice will end there. Maine de diya. No. He expects to invoke a devata, and he wants the devata to give him something in exchange. He has to say tathastu. That's what it is. So Yajman gives swaha and devata has to give a tathastu. Does this look like a sacrifice to you? It looks more like an exchange. So Yajman is the investor, swaha is the investment, Devata is the investee, Tathastu is the return on investment. That's the Indian model. कुछ दे रहे हो तो कुछ मिलना चाहिए. That's what business is about. You give in order to get. It's not a give and take. You can't take from the Devata. You have to ask the Devata. You have to give and get. And now look at all the people you work with. You go to your employees, you hire an employee, he signs a memorandum of agreement. You are paying him a monthly salary, but still you have to give him a motivational speech. Contract, he's a logical human being, contract has been signed, you're paying him salary, he should work. Why do you need to motivate him? Because Devata hai. आरती उतारना पड़ता है. Please work, please do your job so that I will pay you salary. You just go to a government office, no? Government civil servant. You go, he has to do his job. In order for him to do his job, you have to do aarti. I'll wait for 3 hours out of behind your office. When you decide and decree to see me, you will go and meet him. Then you'll bow and act humble in front of him. Exactly what you do in a temple. Indians have a lot of practice. The whole idea of looking at it as an exchange, and then you understand the rituals. It's always a give and get, not give and take. I give in order to receive. And it is a complex one. So I have to give something to the customer, so the customer gives me loyalty in exchange. I have to give something to the talent, so the talent gives me something in exchange. I have to give something to the investor so that he gives me something in return. If I want investment, I present in front of the investors a great story, a great plan, a great business plan. He looks at it, Devata is happy, he invests in my business. That's what we do constantly. Yajna. You see, but the thing is, this is the problem. We have many Devatas. So, all Devatas are not the same. Everybody is different. And that's a classical Tambram household. You can see the number of Devatas. So you have Grama Devata, Kula Devata, Ishta Devata, Graha Devata, Gana Devata, all Devatas. And that's exactly how your business is run, right? You have to deal with so many people. You have to deal with your customers, you have to deal with regulators, you have to deal with partners, you have to deal with employees, you have to deal with investors, and you have to deal with family. Who will tell you, why did you get into business? You had a good job. All those things you have to deal with. And every god wants a different swaha. So you go to a Shiv temple, you give a bel ka patta. You go to a Vishnu temple, you give a Krishna ka tulsi ka patta. What were the ancestors teaching us? Customize your swaha. What is more efficient? The same flower you give to everybody. But standardize swaha, standardize tathas. So you decide whether you want to standardize or customize. You decide. The question is, what do human beings want? What do people want? Let's look. Let's do darshan. Let's look at people a little bit more. Let's go a little bit more deeper. So having understood, moving from the concept of belief, behavior, business, then we move to yajna as human relationships being actually yajna. Let's understand human beings. If we have to make ourselves attractive, what is it that human beings need? Let's do darshan. I always tell people that when you go to temple, the instruction is, jaake darshan karo. What do most people do when they go to the temple? They shut their eyes. Wahan pe bhi non-compliance. Look. So let's look. And when you look at human beings, it's something that we forget. Although we have all studied science in school, in colleges sometime, we forget one important thing, that humans are 99% animals. Something that we forget. From a genetic point of view, 99% of our being is animal. So all the animal memories are embedded within us. What does it mean? It means that in crisis, we behave like animals. ये पशु प्रकृति हम नहीं देखते. And we forget what are we as human beings. See, are we This is how animals behave. They have a pecking order, alpha and omega. Humans have pecking orders too. Or look at this, predator and prey. Look at that picture. Before a sales call and after a sales call. You know, when you want the business, who is the predator? And after they sign the deal, who is the predator? Who chases whom? And just look at that and you will understand so much. Pashu Prakriti. Every office I see this. In every office. I know so many people who started business because they said, I will not bow to another alpha. Basically, the purpose of business is, I want to be the alpha. And you're like, that's not a good purpose for business. Logic नहीं बात कर रहे हम लोग, आदमी के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. I want to be autonomous, independent. I want others to bow to me. Who will chase whom? So let's do darshan. Now, again, another exercise. Look at this picture and who would you like to save? And most people will say we want to save the deer. Why? Because we believe the deer needs help. Look carefully. What will happen if you save the deer? The cheetah will not get food. You see, when we do darshan, we are too eager to decide. We have decided that the cheetah is the villain, the deer is the victim, and I want to be the hero. I want to save it. So it becomes this great activist desire to save the world. We don't see the full picture. It's a complex ecosystem. And world, like business, is very complex. Look at the cheetah carefully. The fear of the predator. What is the fear of the predator? Khana nahi milega. I will die of starvation if I don't catch the deer. What is the Hindi? And that means it has a target. Every day it has to go hunting. What's the Hindi word for target? Laksh. From Laksh comes Lakshmi. Revenue, top line, bottom line, cash flow, without which the company won't survive. Without which salaries won't be paid. Without which there will be no debentures. Without which there is no question of return on investment. You need this fear in your being if you want to achieve the target. One of the reasons why in every company, the day they declare the bonus of this quarter, they also declare the target of the next quarter. Because you don't want the animal to feel comfortable. It must always be hungry. Hunger drives him. But humans are not just predators, we are also the prey. And look at this. So much to eat, so much Lakshmi, so much food to eat, and yet the deer is terrified. Completely terrified. You see, as the cheetah will say that the deer is lucky. Why? Because the cheetah can eat every day while the deer can eat every day while the cheetah eats only once in 10 days. But the deer will say that when the cheetah may eat once in 10 days, but when it eats a full stomach. A deer may eat every day, but it can never eat a full stomach. Because when the stomach is full, you cannot run. That's how nature balances it. So what is the deer looking for? Look at the terrified eyes. The deer is looking for security, protection, panah. And in the old days, in order to secure ourselves, we used to build walls around the house. We used to build forts, kila, gad, durg. From durg comes Durga, goddess of security. Every business de-risks itself. Every business needs to secure itself. A young boy starts his day and after he finishes college says, I want a job. I want a high paying job. In other words, Lakshmi. Once he gets that, he says, I want a secure job. Durga. You go to a shop, you want to buy a washing machine, you say, I want a value for money, Lakshmi. Once you get that, you will say, after sale service hai, warranty hai, guarantee hai. That's what you want. So we are no different. We want Lakshmi Durga, Lakshmi Durga, Lakshmi constantly. And how do you make people insecure and control them? Don't give them Durga. Simple, contract laborers. Every year, your contract will be renewed. It makes great business sense. Logically can be sold by the CFO. But it is stripped of humanity. Because every year the man is thinking, agle saal salary milega. Opening him to a whole range of exploitation. Simple things that happen across in the largest of organizations, which have wonderful values written on the ethics board. You see, we are just animals with larger brains. And because we have larger brains, we can do one thing that animals cannot do. We can imagine. We have the ability to imagine. Animals do imagine, but nothing in the human scale. Nothing in the human scale, and only higher animals. Because you can imagine, you can plan, you can visualize, you can think of the future. Because you can imagine, you can have a hypothesis for which you can have a thesis, in other words, knowledge. Because you have imagination, you can imagine anything and everything. You can imagine a world where there is no hunger. There is no data for that. But we believe that one day we will create a world where there is no hunger. In fact, we believe that one day the lion shall lay with the lamb. But I can also imagine the opposite. I can imagine a world where everything will collapse, where there will be predators everywhere. The deer gets frightened when it can see a tiger, smell a tiger, or hear a tiger. Humans can imagine a tiger all the time. That is great for the security business. But the most important thing is, see, imagination is Saraswati. The word Saras means that which is fluid, which cannot be held. Pani ke jaise jo behta hai, Sarita, which means river, Sarovar, pond, water, thoughts. You can't control thoughts. And in our imagination, we are continuously wondering, how do I see myself? This is Narcissus looking at his reflection and wondering, who am I? So I look into the mirror and what do I see? Do I see myself or do I see my imagination of myself? You see, I look at the mirror and I think I am diamond. Then I go home and then I visit, I think I'm diamond and I go to office. When I go to office, I meet my boss. It is appraisal time. Looks at me and he says, you are not diamond, you are plastic. I'll give you plastic ka bonus, not diamond ka bonus. So I get very depressed. I go home, I tell my wife, what do you think I am, diamond or plastic? She looks at me and says, you're not diamond, you're not plastic. You are cheap plastic. And I get completely depressed. You see, because that is the way she sees me. But look at it carefully. Diamond is my imagination, plastic is my boss's imagination, and cheap plastic is my wife's imagination. This is what imagination does to us. We dismiss imagination, but imagination is what makes us human. Everybody imagines themselves like this. मैं शेर हूं, apex predator. Go to any sales conference, and I have attended quite a few. The emblem is always a lion or a tiger or a cheetah, never a rat. Never a goat. No. Always a lion, apex predator, because that's how I imagine myself as powerful. What is the reality of our life? This. You see, this is before marriage. And it applies to both genders, incidentally. This is after marriage. This is recruitment department. We have to hire lions. This is the training department. We are domesticated. I have worked with some of the most powerful and richest people in the world, and this is true for them too. Everybody wants to be Indra. They're all tied, held back. The lion is always in chains. It is continuously seeking a world where there is no rules. Swarg, swarg, swarg. Yearning is there. You see, we are all seeking validation. Meri auqaat kya hai? What is my validation? Hindi word, very powerful word, auqaat. I'm terrified of being insignificant. That applies to the peon, that applies to the proprietor, that applies to the doorman, that applies to the director. It doesn't change. However rich you are, however powerful you are, wherever you are in the hierarchy, this is true for your employees, your customers, your shareholders. Now think of the swaha you give them. What do you give them so that they are attracted to you? Ab dete kya ho? Do you give them Lakshmi, wealth? I give you salary, therefore you should be attracted to me. Somebody gives better salary, he'll go there. You give value for money, somebody gives better value for money, he'll go there. And you wonder, why is the customer running away from me? Why is talent not working with me? Because that's not enough. We want something more. I want power. मुझे शक्ति चाहिए, मुझे दुर्गा चाहिए. I want to feel powerful. I want solutions to my problem. I want status. Sir, I don't want a salary increase, but can you just call me senior manager, not junior manager? शादी नहीं हो रही है. Have you heard these dialogues? All HR people will tell you these strange dialogues that happen. What is he asking? मुझे दुर्गा चाहिए, sir. Or the rich man says, I want freedom. I want to do whatever I want. I want to build a house whichever way I want. I want to build a factory wherever I want. But regulators, bankers, so much transparency. Why do they need? Don't they trust me? That's the problem. I want freedom, power. And of course, last, Saraswati. And everywhere I go, people associate Saraswati with information and skill development. Why do you want skills? Why do you want information? So that I will become rich and powerful. So basically, Saraswati has become the handmaiden of Lakshmi and Durga. We are not interested in understanding how I imagine myself, how do other people imagine themselves, how can I understand the customer, how do I do darshan? You can't use the word darshan in management, you can use customer insight. They mean the same thing. Arey darshan karo, logon ka darshan karo, look what the customer wants and make sure you get him to your shop. Only then you'll be a successful businessman. So ultimately it is about this. It is ultimately about wealth, power and identity. This is what human beings want. And whether it's your mobile phone or this bottle of water, it is being presented through you through these three things. This is Tattva Gyan. This is the Nirguna that we don't see. Saguna we see. Nirguna ye hota hai. The value for money. The power that you get by holding an iPhone. The identity that is developed. I work for this company. I'm proud of it. That is auqaat. Mujhe अच्छा लगता है. So what if I'm not paid the highest salary? I have respect. All these things which are important for talent management. All this is there. How do you remember these three goddesses? Very simple. LSD. Lakshmi, Saraswati, Durga. Mythological LSD, not any other LSD that you have in mind. All you corrupt people. Three things that human beings always need. Discover it, offer it to the best of your abilities, and Lakshmi will walk your way. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pattanaik, for that very captivating, fresh, and really unique talk. I'm sure everyone in here was really, really enlightened and enjoyed that. We would like to present you with a memento of our appreciation. Sure, we can open up the floor at Mr. Pattanaik's request. We're opening up the floor to some Q&A. So if we can just get the microphones and questions, please.
We have time, right?
We do. Just getting the mics right over there. Perfect. So we'll open up the floor to questions from the audience now, please.
How to relate to Shiva?
Can I have the slides? Shiva is never hungry. It's not part of business community. You can't have customers who are Shiva. Problem?
Yeah. Hi. Thank you, sir. Yeah. It was very enlightening, but also very uncomfortable, actually, because a lot of things that you said are very difficult to do in terms of deciding whether to have a company, whether to start a company, because you will have to employ people. And I don't see how you can do that without exploiting them. So what's your thought on that?
Well, I don't know whether you need to exploit people. There are a lot of people out there without jobs, and unless you start a business, they will never get a job. So I think business is a fantastic form of charity, because at the very least, you're giving people employment, and our country needs employment. So it's how you look. You see, we are conditioned in today in this world to frown upon business. But the people who frown upon business don't know how to give people employment. So that's the problem, right? How will you create jobs if there are no business? So, I remember a friend of mine, he had a car, he was driving for a long time, and then he made a lot of money, and he said, I want to keep a driver, and I'm very embarrassed because, why do I need to keep a driver? I can drive on my own. And his friend just said, you will just give one more person honest employment. Now he has 3 drivers. Yeah, so it's how you look, darshan karo. Everything can be seen in very different ways. The same thing can be shifted. So when somebody tells you one thing, just shift the gaze and say, what does it actually mean to the person who is working? And that is how business has to be seen. You have to see business, and after some time, when does it start becoming exploitation? Because in the first day when I got the job, it was gift from God. On the second day, it was exploitation. Yeah?
Sir, if there are no other questions, I would like to ask one more. So, further to what you just said, so would it be ideal then, as an entrepreneur who's looking to hire, say, 2 people?
Yeah.
I mean, for it to be fair, wouldn't it be ideal to just give them equal share in the company, whether he is a peon or if he is a software programmer? So I think maybe I could draw a parallel to what, for instance, you hear these stories of Infosys, a driver in Infosys, getting shares in the company, and therefore he's become a millionaire when they did the IPO.
Fairness is a very complex concept.
Yeah.
Think of the earliest human beings, the day the man was a hunter. Or think of a mother who's feeding 3 children. That's an easy example. Hunter, we can't go that far. Think of a mother, she has 3 children. Should she divide her food equally between 3 children? Should she give more food to the smartest child? Should she give more food to the weakest child? If she gives more food to the weakest child, the smartest child will get angry. You give it to the smartest child, the weakest child will feel deprived and denied and unloved. So you solve the problem, Vikramaditya. What is the right, fair solution for the mother? These are questions that are very difficult to answer. Therefore, in India, we have this whole bunch of stories like Vikram and Vetal. The purpose being there is no right answer. This obsession with the word right is a Western disease. Right for whom? Because that will change. Right for the mother so that she feels good about herself. Right for the kids. Right for the smartest kid. Right for the weakest kid. The answers will change. And only, in fact, the origin of the word, proportion in Sanskrit, in Hindi dialects is bhag. He who knows who should get the right bhag is Bhagwan. That is how the word Bhagwan comes. He who knows who should get the right, वो तो हमेशा problem होगा. That is why every father faces the problem when he divides the property. Across the board, across the world it happens. Nobody knows as yet the formula for a fair share.
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Pattanaik. Thank you so much, Mani. It's obviously a very enlightening perspective, both from the business side as well as the mythology side. Now, the curiosity I had in mind is, see, out of the entire scheme of things and all the entities, I think Vishnu was possibly the person who basically was most relaxed and yet managed to attract or achieve what everybody is vying for, right? Now, that again kind of translates to what in today's business also we try to say, that you've got to change with the world, be more adaptive, responsive, so that you are more relevant. Now, when we summarized, the summary was ended with Lakshmi, Saraswati and Durga as those three entities. Now, where exactly is Vishnu in that equation? So if I might ask, if I draw an analogy with business, who is Vishnu, or do you basically take Lakshmi, Saraswati, Durga to become Vishnu? What's your take on that?
Okay. Let's look at the yajna. So, a businessman is doing yajna. So imagine Vishnu doing yajna. He looks at a person and says, what should I give him so that he comes towards me? Now, what do you think people are seeking in this world of the three goddesses? Mostly the extreme. Somebody needs security in different forms. Remember, the word security is a very complex one. So brand, for example, comes under that. If you want to study brand, I will explain only using Durga. But the moment you want to hear about financial, that will come over there. This is what people want. So what is he going to give? Repeatedly, he is continuously giving Lakshmi. What is he getting in exchange? The middle goddess. But the more middle he gets, the more she comes towards him. So it's a continuous process. It's a continuous process, because you keep giving what the audience wants, they keep giving it back to you. You keep giving it back to them, and that it starts what happens. Like a great teacher, or look at a great institute. You produce great people, and more people want to join you. You produce great people, more people want to join you. You produce great people, more people want to join you. But the moment the focus becomes on how many people have joined the institute, the quality will collapse. So where is your attention? Dhyan kahan pe hai? What are you investing in? And many a times people lose sight of this. I was consulting this network learning company which was teaching very young people to network, and he was telling that, my brand rose for 2 years, I made a lot of money, and then suddenly the business collapsed. And I said, okay, every day when you pick up the phone, who do you talk to and what do you ask? He would call up all his institutes and ask, aaj kitne logon ka enrollment hua? And I said, what is the promise you make to the customer? That after if you join my course, you will get a job. I said, why don't you pick up the phone and ask kitne logon ko job mila? Because that's your promise, right? But he's not interested in the promise. He's saying, wo na logon ka paisa nikalne ke liye maine advertising kar diya. He doesn't understand his own business. His business is resting on one promise of guaranteeing job. He just has to keep doing that. The students will keep coming. The quality will improve. Everything will change. The entire chain will change. The entire supply chain will change. But he's only looking at how much of cash has come into the company, and it is such a foolish thing. But darshan nahi kar raha hai. वो Lakshmi का दर्शन कर रहा है. When Lakshmi is supposed to be attracted to him, you don't have to chase her. She has to be attracted to you, which means you have to do something that makes you attractive. अपने आप को आकर्षित करना है. So the whole thing, it's literally saying that I don't want my wife to stay with me because she's legally married to me. It is because she's in love with me. Many husbands find that very tough.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, doctor. Yeah.
Yes.
So to which this predator and prey I can relate to as an businessman and a professional. Something like Amul cooperative where predator and prey live together, is that the solution, nearby solution? But how can that be replicated elsewhere?
You see, Predator and prey never live together in the jungle. That is only in the human imagination they live together. So it's an imaginary reality. In Gujarati it is called Vagh Bakri Chai. Yeah? Because Vagh and Bakri will never be friends. But humans are not animals. We are not in the jungle. Our society is not based on grabbing. Our society is based on exchange. And Amul Cooperative is based on exchange, one level of exchange. I give you, you give me, which is perceived as fair by both sides. It's perceived as fair. Whether it is fair or not, I don't know. But important is people feel, ye bhaiya theek ho raha hai. The day the perception will break, it will collapse. So a lot of investment has to be done so that each side feels it's a fair bargain. But that's only one part of the business, right? There's another part of the business where the milk is then given to the consumer. There the equations are very different. So that is the production side, the manufacturing side. But there is also the marketplace where there are so many other products, so many other milk products. So you have a competitive advantage because the government supports you, because that simple act of mutual exchange gives you also subsidies, benefits. So all that works in your favor, but it was very difficult model to replicate. It has still been a replica. Why is it not replicated in agricultural sector? Why is it not replicated in other sectors? Although people have tried. Because it is complex. That perception of fairness on either side is very difficult to achieve. So that was a great and tough thing to achieve. And they've achieved it and now it's working like clockwork. I don't know the details of the business right now. But to replicate that model where both parties feel fair and it leads to a profitable business. Because ultimately Amul has to make profit in order to sustain this. Somewhere along the line the margins matter. Yeah? Otherwise you depend on government subsidies and that's very dangerous. Because one day the subsidy will be pulled away and the whole thing will collapse.
I have one simple question. We saw all this imagery. So who is the serpent in business scenario?
Sorry?
Who is the serpent? Vishnu,
which mythology are you talking?
Vishnu was sitting on the serpent, right?
No, but see, serpent has a different meaning in biblical mythology. Has a very different meaning in Indian mythology. Clarify.
So it's in Indian mythology. We are talking about that Vishnu is sitting on serpent and having a smooth ride. So who is that serpent?
Serpent is time. It is just Shesha. See the word, the serpent is represented, these are cosmic diagrams which have been drawn. It basically represents the movement of time. Sometimes an action that you do is fantastic because the timing is just right. The same action in another time leads to disaster. So you're continuously aware of time. And that is what makes you very insecure. Because you may do everything right, but the timing doesn't work in your favor. Or you may be doing everything wrong, but the timing works in your favor. It's like the World War I and II were the best things that happened to America. Their manufacturing grew. Right? And the moment it happened, the moment manufacturing became very expensive in America, China decided to manufacture and immediately that collapsed and this rose. Now China has become very expensive. You're paying the price for pollution. So suddenly somebody has come up with the idea of making in India.
Thank you.
Sir, good afternoon.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Sir, my question is, how would you describe Narada as whistleblower or a corporate communication manager?
Very good question. May I request you to buy this book? It's ₹499. Flipkart gives you 30%.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, by this way, Durga would come to you. Yes, sure.
Yeah. One more question. Yes, gentleman over here.
मैं हिंदी में बोलूंगा क्योंकि ये इंडियन माइथोलॉजी के ऊपर है, तो कोशिश करूंगा हिंदी में बोलने के लिए. सो पार्डन मी इफ आई कांट डू दैट. रिगार्डिंग योर स्नेक, दैट
माय स्नेक,
योर विष्णु स्नेक, योर परसेप्शन.
अरे ये सनातन है, मेरा कुछ नहीं है इसका.
योर परसेप्शन, ओके, योर परसेप्शन. विष्णु सांप के ऊपर क्यों है और शिव जी के गले में सांप क्यों है? सांप एक्चुअली वो होता है जिसके दिमाग में गड़ल होता है, विष. तो जो भी बिजनेसमैन है, जो भी काम करता है, उसी के ऊपर बैठा रहता है. लेकिन सांप का खुद का विष खुद को नहीं मारता है, वो मारता है दूसरे को. या मारने के लिए यूज किया जाता है। तो जब भी हम लोग विष्णु या फिर शिव को डिफाइन करते हैं किसी भी तरीके से, जब भी सांप आता है, सांप को अगर आप देखेंगे रिगार्डिंग एजुकेशन, रिगार्डिंग शिव और रिगार्डिंग विष्णु, सांप का मीनिंग हर जगह पे अलग अलग है। बाइबल ऑब्वियसली अलग है, अगर इंडियन माइथोलॉजी को देखें वो भी अलग है। तो बिजनेस में अगर हम लोग देखना चाहे, अगर उस विष को हम लोग पालना सीखे तो उसको हम लोग यूटिलाइज कर सकते हैं दूसरे तरीके से, मुझे ये लगता है। दैट्स माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग रिगार्डिंग लक्ष्मी।
Is this a question?
No, I'm just.
So we can do this offline, yeah?
I knew it. Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I would like to address one question, sir.
Yes.
Sir, like, my question would be like, why do people worship different god for different purpose when the generator, operator, and the destroyer can be packed into one?
Well, why do you work with different markets?
Why do people worship different god?
Yeah.
That is my question.
Well, it's one is more efficient, the other is more effective. You decide. Thank you.
And on that note, thank you so much once again, Dr. Pattanaik. I'd like to invite Mr. D.D. Purkayasa, Managing Director and CEO, ABB Private Limited and Chairman, INFOCOM, to do the honors and present you with the token of our appreciation.